Good afternoon and welcome. This is Sharon Huntsman, the Director of the UC Davis Executive Leadership Program. I'm delighted to welcome you today to our information session on the UC Davis Executive Leadership Program. And I'm here with my colleague.
Hello everyone, I'm Stephanie Eaton and I am the Program Assistant to support Sharon and all of the participants in our Executive Leadership Program.
And I want to tell you who else is on our team here today. We have Dr. Paul Porter, who is one of our instructors in the program. He teaches our session on leadership communications, and he's going to be with us. And then we also have two of our alumni from last year's executive program, and they're going to share their perspective as well. And then we have time for your questions. And so I really want to encourage you, if there are any questions that you're coming into this program, with, and if there are questions that arise as we're going through a more in-depth exploration of this program, please type them in. We want to hear from them. We'll do our best to answer them as we go, and we'll also have time at the end for questions. And Stephanie, why don't you explain a little bit more about how the questions work?
Yeah, of course. All right, so as you can see on your screen, on the right-hand side, there's a white Q&A box. And throughout the course of the webinar, I will be monitoring that box. So if at any time you have questions, please feel free to submit them there. And if it's something quick, I might answer it briefly in text, but most likely we'll actually save it for the end of the presentation, and we'll do a live question and answer segment. So be sure to stay with us until the very end of the program to join us for that. You'll also notice that below the white question and answer box, there's a phone number and access code. And if at any point you have problems hearing the presentation through your computer, please feel free to call into that number and you will be able to listen in over the phone. And finally, if you have any technical difficulties at any point during the presentation, please let us know in that white Q&A box and we will do our very best to address them for you. All right, with that, I'll turn it back over to Sharon to guide us through the rest of the program.
Thanks, Stephanie. So let's get started by finding out from you all what is on your mind when it comes to leadership development. What is your most important goal for yourself and for the people that you support and you work with when it comes to leadership development? Is it motivating and engaging people to excel? Is it promoting teamwork and getting people to be more collaborative in how they approach the work? Is it developing your influence so that you can have a greater impact on your organization? Or are you adapting to a lot of change or having to drive change? Or is your organization one that's really looking for innovative ideas and trying to support those and bring those to fruition? What is your most important leadership development priority? I know whenever I look through this list, I want to check them all, but we're going to ask you to give us your number one leadership development priority. And it looks like right now, motivating and engaging people to excel is the top vote getter, which is terrific. And that is a really important theme that is in our executive program. And actually, all of these topics are a part of what we emphasize for executive level leaders in this program. So let me tell you a little bit more about how we define leadership development. So we look at leadership as having a twofold definition. First of all, leaders are fundamentally guides to the organization's future. They help to set the vision, they help to refine the vision, they connect people and their work to that vision to give it meaning, and they encourage really robust and open dialogue about the organization's future. We also believe that leaders are the kind of people who other people in the organization are willing to follow. So the best leaders are often very good at doing what they say they will do, and they build trust in that respect. They demonstrate a lot of respect, a lot of emotional intelligence, and they have a high commitment to the organization's purpose. So when we talk about leadership, this is the definition that we are looking at. And we really believe that there are behaviors that everyone can learn and practice and grow in, no matter where you are, whether you've been leading a group for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Because we're talking about leading people, there's always something more that we can learn to be more effective as leaders. And I think what's true about the people who join our executive program is that they come from very different industries, very different walks of life, but they all share a commitment to being more effective in these kinds of roles, more effective at articulating the vision and more effective at encouraging others to be engaged in the process of building the organization. So that's what really unites the cohort in this program. And our program has 3 distinguishing features to it. First of all, it's 8 sessions, so there are 8 different topics on consecutive Thursday nights. We start at 1:30 in the afternoon and go into the evening. And each topic tackles a critical senior leadership issue. Emotional intelligence, or leading organizational change, or leadership communication. And each instructor who teaches that topic has been carefully selected not only for their knowledge of that topic and what really helps leaders to be effective, but also for their own experience as leaders in their own right. They're willing to share as fellow leaders who've made mistakes and learned from them and grown. And we come together as a cohort for these 8 sessions and learn as a group. I think one of the things that's wonderful about this experience is that there's often so much rich experience that people have from leading organizations and making mistakes and having successes, and people are very willing and open and share that with each other. So it's almost like you have this group of 25 to 28 plus people who are all engaging and helping each other to learn and grow. So those are the sessions themselves. And then we also have 360-degree feedback as part of this program. So what that means is everyone who's in this program assesses their own leadership behaviors and how frequently they're engaging in them. And then they share and ask a group of people that they trust to give them feedback. They ask for some ratings of how frequently others are viewing them engaged in leadership behaviors. And that's so helpful for people. It is incredibly rewarding to find out how valuable some of the activities that you're engaged in as a leader are to people that you might not even appreciate, and also to become more aware of any blind spots that you have about how people are perceiving you that you might not be aware of. And then finally, we have coaching. We have a couple of different executive coaches in this program, and we match you with a coach. And that coaching is really so that you have a champion to help you digest your feedback, help you set goals, and make progress on your own goals for your leadership growth during the program. And we have 2 sessions of coaching for everyone in the program. So now I want to hand it over to Dr. Paul Porter, who kicks off each program so that he can introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about his course, and so you can get a sense of what it's like to work with one of our instructors.
Thank you, Sharon. The very first course in the program, I think we chose it very purposefully. It's called The Leader as Communicator, because we think that good communication skills are the basis of a lot, or almost all, good leadership. And you'll find the topic of communication coming up a lot throughout all our courses. In this class, we talk about the importance of communication, not as a separate thing, but one of the things that I like to say in my course is leadership is communication. It isn't about communication, it is communication. We'll be covering a communication model, a problem-solving model, a coaching model, and using communication, and talking about how communication style and leadership style really affects your success as a leader. So I think it's an exciting kickoff. As with all the programs, I think you'll find all the classes in the program a real emphasis on practical application, along with assessment and some theory, but we want you to come away with practical ideas that you could use the very next day back at your workplace. Sharon?
Great. Thanks, Paul.
So we want to do something here. We thought we'd whet your appetite a little bit with a real quick true or false a test here. So let's go over these, and as I go over them, just answer to yourself, and then I'll go over what we consider the answers in just a minute. Question number 1. The best leaders are the most dynamic, charismatic, and driven individuals in an organization. True or false? Question number 2. The exact words and phrases a leader uses are what are important. So ponder that for a second. Our third question for you just to think about. Good leaders treat everyone the same and always follow the golden rule. Question number 4, true or false? Most change happens when people have accurate information. And our last question for you to ponder, true or false? Leaders should have the answers to the most pressing issues in their organization. So we hope you kind of formulated an answer or opinion on each of these. Let me go over what I think are the answers. So question number one, the best leaders are the most dynamic, charismatic, and driven individuals in an organization. Well, answer, false. A lot of research, and you see some of the research sources listed there on the screen, indicates that there are many, many different types of good leaders. Driven leaders is not the most common successful leader. They're often the ones who have limited terms as leaders. Why? Because it's all about them. Question two. The exact words and phrases a leader uses are what are important. Check to see what you answered there. Our answer is false. While words are important, people tend to decide whether you're a good leader on how closely your words and phrases match your action. Again and again, it's whether you walk the talk, it's what your actions say that matters as a leader. A lot of very articulate leaders are not held in very high esteem or trusted because they don't walk the talk. Question number three. Seems like an easy one here. Good leaders treat everyone the same and follow the golden rule. Well, by now you should know we're tricking you a little bit. False. While the golden rule is important, and we're saying this a little bit to get your attention here, good leaders treat each person a bit differently and follow what we call the platinum rule. You treat every person like they would want to be treated. What appeals to you as a leader, what motivates you as a leader, isn't always what motivates each individual member of your staff. And the trick of good leadership is to try to find out what motivates people. And next question, most change happens when people have accurate information. Well, our answer to that is, here it is, partially. Certainly, accurate information is very important in the change process. You can't make change without good information. But the most important factors to change must appeal to people's values, belief, sense of urgency, and ownership. And we're going to talk about what are some of these other keys to really change an organization, a culture, a person, other than just giving them information. It'll be one of the main topics in a couple of our courses. And finally, I think, leaders should have the answers to the most pressing issues in their organization. False. You can't possibly have all the answers, but you can ask the right questions. Invest in smart risk-taking, provide people with coaching, listen deeply and model important values. Providing answers is probably one of the least important things leaders do. They're amazing facilitators in helping bring out others and bringing out creative solutions, but they aren't the source of all wisdom. So I hope we kind of got you thinking a little bit. We know they were tricky questions and gave you a little bit of flavor for some of the different slants we're going to take on information in this program. We look forward to having you enroll and having you participate with us in leadership. So Sharon, back to you.
Great, thanks, Paul. And I always find that answer very freeing, that you don't have to have all the answers, that you just have to know how to ask the right questions, get people to think and tap into their own knowledge. So thanks so much, Paul. So I teach the second class in the program, which is about leadership practices to increase effectiveness. And this is the class where we dive into the 5 practices of exemplary leaders that is the basis, the research basis for the 360-degree feedback assessment tool that we use. So the 5 practices are modeling the way, inspiring a shared vision, challenging the process, enabling others to act, and encouraging the heart. And this leadership practices inventory tool is a very widely used, highly rigorous and valuable tool. And it's also, I think, very practical and simple in that it's going to give you feedback about how frequently people perceive you being engaged in these particular behaviors related to inspiring a shared vision, for example. So we walk through what does it mean to inspire a shared vision and what are some of the actions that one can take. And we will work on developing your vision for your team or your part of the organization and how you align to the whole organization as a part of this class. The next class in the program is Leading with Emotional Intelligence. And I think one of the things that's so valuable about this class is that we tend to attract very smart people into our program, and they are definitely very savvy. And yet, one of the things that we know about leadership is it's that combination of cognitive intelligence with emotional intelligence that really makes for a great leader. And so Mitchell Adler helps people to become more self-aware and help them develop tools for greater self-management, greater social awareness, and greater relationship management that allow you to have the most positive influence that you can as an organizational leader. And one of the things that I also appreciate about Mitchell is that he really emphasizes the importance of self-care, of taking care of your own needs as a leader so that you can be the best version of yourself, which I think is such an important message for us in our busy, hectic lives to remember. Then Steve Scott leads our class on leading organizational change, and he's a veteran of leading change management efforts in IT as an executive at Vision Services Plan here in the Sacramento region, and now he's on faculty teaching business. And what he really helps us to grapple with is that most large-scale change efforts in organizations fail, and there's been a lot of research on why those efforts fail, particularly by John Cotter at Harvard. And so this class is going to lean on that research about why change efforts fail, but it's not going to be theoretical. Everyone in the class is going to work on a change effort that they are going to be leading in the next 3 to 6 months. It could be something that you are initiating as a result of being in this program. You're going to take this opportunity to make a change, or it could be something that's in existence, that's happening, and you want to apply this theory to the practice of leadership that you are going to be engaging in. So this will be a very practical class. Then kind of the most radical form of change is really leading innovation in organizations, finding ways to create value in new ways. And while most organizations would say they want a lot of innovation, innovation is very tough to make possible and make happen. And so Cleveland Justice, who is the executive director of the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at UC Davis, it's affiliated with our Graduate School of Management, he's an expert in innovation within organizations, and he's going to help us understand that a lot of innovative ideas exist in every organization, but what happens is they are so radical that the organization tends to choke them back because they're just too different than what the current reality is in the organization. So he's going to share strategies and tactics that leaders can use to make sure that ideas survive the resistance of the organization. Then we spend a day on learning how to lead from an executive coach, Michelle Payne, who is a master certified coach, and she directs our coaching program here at UC Davis Extension. And she loves to get people out of their comfort zone as a coach so that they can have a breakthrough. And she's going to train you in the coaching skills that she uses, namely how to be a better listener, how to ask more powerful questions, so that you can coach your people and your teams to have breakthroughs. And as a result, you'll be better equipped to get them to learn from their successes and their failures and to question assumptions and to reevaluate sort of perceived limits to what's possible. And then we have a case study. Daryl Chambliss, the COO of Waste Connections, he shares with us a case study in 4 acts of the evolution of that company. It was founded a little over 10 years ago in a garage in Folsom and is now in the top 4 of publicly traded companies in their industry. And he's going to share some really pivotal moments where they had choices that they had to make in the evolution of their own leadership and their company's direction. And you'll get to guess, what would I do if I were in Daryl's shoes? And then he'll share what he did do and what he learned from it, whether it was, good or bad, and how that moves them forward. And then finally, we wrap up with Elizabeth Doty, who is an author of a book called The Compromise Trap and a researcher, and she's really an expert in how organizational dynamics can cause people in organizations to sustain really high standards and keep their commitments to their constituents or their customers, or what's happening in an organization can actually cause people to erode their commitments and that can lead to ethical compromises with sometimes really terrible consequences for the organization. So she talks about this idea of momentum, where the values of the organization are being embraced and supported, and the organization is on an upswing. She'll help you assess where your team and your organization is at and what you can do to tap into your values and the core values of your organization to make sure that you're reinforcing that commitment to living up to high standards and the commitments that you are making to your customers and your constituents. So now I want to engage our alumni, and I want to ask Kathy and Brandon to share with us their perspective. And I'll throw out the first question to you, Kathy, and then Brandon, you can join in. Just tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to the Executive Leadership Program last year.
Thank you, Sharon and team, for inviting me to share my experience in this forum. I'm the chief of the contracting division at a small DoD activity on McClellan, at McClellan Park. So that's basically my job right now. I came up through the government, the federal government. I'm probably here for close to 25 years in the federal government. Basically what brought me to the ELP is that I have been a mid-level supervisor for probably 3 years prior to the leadership program that I attended. And I had taken multiple leadership classes, which were all good. Looking to the future and the likelihood of moving into a senior leadership position in my organization, I was looking for a leadership curriculum that brought all of what I had previously learned in classes and learned on the job into one cohesive program. And of course, I was looking for updates to that. My organization was also looking for good programs that could be used by other managers. And so the UC Davis ELP program really fit into this need for looking for cohesiveness. Also, just to say that the organization has now adopted this and is going to be sending other managers in 2017.
Thanks, Kathy. Brandon, why don't you share with us your perspective and your background? What brought you here?
Yeah, so I am I'm a program quality manager at Aerojet Rocketdyne, and really what brought me here was, one, I had just been promoted into a little bit more of a senior management role. I've been a program manager for a while, which is more mid-level, and I was looking for depth. I wanted to make sure that I was starting a management career, and I was just kind of getting started in management. So one of the things I want to say, kind of diverging a little bit, is this doesn't have to be for super high-level managers, because there's going to be a mix. And one of the things you learn in this program is everyone leads from where they are. And I think that's really, really powerful. It's something I was able to kind of take with me. But I wanted depth. I wanted something where I can actually maintain my career and not go to full-time school, so I can work at the same time, but actually have the classroom depth and engagement that you get from personal connections with these people. And, you know, I sat by Kathy a lot of the class, actually, and to be able to connect with these people and see how people lead in different areas, whether it be government contracting, whether it be construction, whether it be IT, whether it be personnel services, whether, you know, there's so many different levels of depth that you can get from the various people there that they cover. That's kind of what I was looking for. That's what attracted me to the program. The fact that it actually had some substantial length to it, and means you have to participate. It's not just something you go to do online. You check a box and you're done. I really liked to be able to go in depth, and that's kind of what I was looking for.
Cool. And Brandon, why don't you just share also, you know, we now know why you decided on that program, but having gone through the program, what did you really get out of it? What was most valuable for you?
There's a couple things. One, be ready to challenge yourself and to be able to look at yourself in a mirror, because I'll tell you,
The 360-degree evaluation will tell you a lot about not about yourself, about what and how other people perceive you. So that's one thing I really got out of it, was a honest look at where I am, what I can do to grow, things I was doing really well, and things that I wasn't doing very well. So being able to have that experience was really, really great. What I really took away from this, I feel like I significantly enhanced my ability to help people be successful by being able to ask the right questions, by being able to communicate and challenge people. And in what I do, I really feel like I have to push ownership and responsibility downhill. So I want my team to own a process, to be able to feel like they're 100% engaged, like it's theirs as much as it is the company's. So that way they feel like they really want to be, they want the same success that the company wants. So I learned some strategies to help me do that. I thought that was really, really valuable. The other thing that's exceptionally valuable, I can't say enough about it, is having the 2 executive coaching sessions allows you to focus in not on just the general topics that you see, and those topics are great, but you can dive down into some specifics about your job, about your career, about your personal development that you may want to improve, that you want to dissect a little bit better, and you have somebody who's a true sounding board be able to do that for you.
Great. Terrific. Thanks so much for sharing what you got out of the program. Makes me feel proud. Kathy, why don't you share? What was most valuable for you?
I agree with Brandon with all that he said, and to add to some of that. So for me, each and every class session was extremely valuable. I honestly sat there and said, boy, I can't believe how much there is to this, and the interaction with everybody was incredible. Overall, for me personally, this program helped me to really understand my strengths and weaknesses as a leader. I learned how to use both of those strengths and weaknesses in becoming more effective in my job, because when I started, I was at one level, and when I ended up was at another level. So I learned what I valued most in people, in my work, and in my life in general. I was able to really draw on those strengths and to help in the areas where I needed more work. And I can honestly say the conflict resolution, the fierce conversations, the active listening, those are some very powerful areas that really helped me become more effective. And then, like I said before, being able to practice these sessions in each class with the other leaders was really, really powerful in order for me to bring it back to the workplace, because I was faced with some very large challenges, as both Sharon and Brandon probably remember. So I want to say, by the most valuable insight that I have, and Brandon touched on this, is lead from where you are and be true to yourself and to your employees.
You know, it's Brandon and Kathy, you both got so much out of this program because you both were really exemplary about engaging in it, and I think that's what's really true. And part of why I feel proud for both of you, because you really took the opportunity, you seized it to use this as an opportunity to grow. And I'd love to hear what kind of an impact it's having back in your organization. What do you notice that's different this year than last year for you?
So, as I had mentioned before, I had some pretty big challenges that I was facing. So becoming the leader of the division, I had to rebuild basically a broken division, if I have to put it into words, but a division that was being seen as broken. And I wanted to turn it around. So what I did differently when I was given this position is that, and these are all the things that I learned from this class, is I shared my vision, my values, and expectations with everybody. I worked with the management team to build trust and respect amongst themselves and amongst them, and amongst their employees. I then encouraged them, and this is something that Paul talked about, is to walk the talk. If you say something, if you tell somebody you're going to do something, please follow through. And I held them accountable to that. I also opened dialogue, and I heard from the employees what really mattered most to them. I started rebuilding the idea of cohesiveness in our division. I held people accountable. And I'm transparent and honest with them. So we're seeing results. And I'm really happy about that. The employees seem happier. They're more open to the changes, and they're starting to come together as a cohesive team. And I have to say, I just put the words and the actions in motion, and it had a domino effect. And I'm truly happy with, and I couldn't have done it with this program.
Oh, that's such a great outcome. Brandon, what about for you? What's been really different this year?
Well, one thing, I really feel like I'm able to engage with my employees so much better. And I talked a little bit about ownership. I was in a situation at work where things weren't that great. They weren't, they were okay, but they weren't operating the way that I believe was our full potential. And I was kind of scratching my head saying, okay, how do I get people engaged? How do I get people to want to perform? And by passing down the change between when I started this class and when I ended this class, really set up a plan to get people engaged. And I tell you what, the difference is really, really, really incredible. I can put it into words. I can actually put it into numbers, the difference. I run a 15-year production program. Almost 20 years now we've been in production. We had a 40% drop in the cost of poor quality because our team was able to perform better. 40% after 20 years of production.
Wow.
We had a 20% drop in the number of rejectable hardware. Because everyone was engaged. You guys, it was really fun. I had these employees who all of a sudden really wanted to perform so well just by asking the right questions, by figuring out what motivates them, by saying, you know what, I'm not going to focus on your weaknesses. I'm going to focus on your strengths, and cross-functionally training your employees to be strong in the areas where they're strong in, and allow them to succeed. The numbers were really incredible. They speak for themselves. We had one of our best years ever, and a lot of that credit goes to this program for initiating that change, or helping me initiate that change. I had to do it from the beginning, but I don't think I would have ever been as successful as I was without that. So it's really a testimony to what you're going to be able to learn. But just like anything, you get out of it what you put into it. So you have to be willing to come and challenge yourself. And then again, one of the things that you get out of it is you really truly spend a lot of time with these people, and you really make some great friends. You get a network of leaders throughout the area that if you have a question, you can contact them, and they will reply. You have a network that you can rely on to give you feedback, to say, hey, am I making a mistake here? Am I doing this right? And in a leadership position, there's not a good place always to do that in your job, so it gives you that as well. So I just think it's a fantastic program. I would do it again, and the results were truly fantastic.
Well, thank you both for modeling the way of what you get out of it, what you put into it. I know you both put a lot into it, and I'm so glad to hear the great results that you're having. And so what is it that you have to put into this program? Let's talk about this program and how it's designed and what it asks of you. So as I said earlier, there are 8 sessions of the program. So it's 8 consecutive Thursday afternoons from 1:30 to 8 o'clock. We have dinner together, we break bread together, and we engage fully in those 8 sessions. So everyone attends all 8 sessions. And there's some time in between each session, and I think one of the valuable things about this program is that it's not consecutive days. So you'll take a class with Paul Porter and you'll talk about leadership styles, and then the next day you can be in a one-on-one meeting with one of your employees and you can talk about it and apply, is this a coaching situation or am I really able to fully delegate this? And try what it is that you're learning and put it into good use. One of the questions that we often get is how much prep is there? How much reading, how much work is there between sessions in order to do this program? And I would say that there's about 1 to 2 hours of reading or watching TED Talks, or we might have an assignment where you have to develop a change plan that you want to work on, something that you want to do as a change effort in your organization to prep for the class on leading organizational change. So there's 1 to 2 hours. And then executive coaching, you get 2 hours, 2 sessions of executive coaching during the program as well. So that we try to make the prep not overwhelming, because you're already carving out a day a week for 8 weeks. We try to make it just enough prep to really prime your thinking about the topic before you come into the classroom, so you're really ready to engage in the topic of leading organizational change when we get there. So some of the nuts and bolts of the program, the tuition is $59.50, and if you enroll before February 16th, you get quite a nice discount, $5,500. And while the deadline is March 13th, that's the absolute last time we can accept anyone in, because you do need to complete your leadership self-assessment before the program starts. The enrollment has been really strong in the program already this fall and into January, and it's typically full by the time our early enrollment deadline comes up. And I really want to encourage you, if you're thinking about this program, to get your application in as quickly as possible, because I do think that it's going to fill, and if we end up with a strong wait list, there's a possibility that we could open up a second session of the program, but we wouldn't be able to do that unless we had a lot of applications. So I encourage you to come if this is the year for you to commit to your leadership development. We're going to try to meet your need, but we need to know that that's something that you want to do. So I know that we've got some questions. Stephanie, what questions should we handle here?
Yeah, so throughout the course of the presentation, we've had a few questions come in. So we'll go ahead and just start off. But in the meantime, if you think of anything while we're answering questions, we still have plenty of time left in the presentation, and so we would be more than happy to answer those for you. So if while we're answering questions you think of something, just go ahead and type it in, and we'll hopefully get to your question. All right, but to start us off, we have a question here for Sharon, and that's how much leadership experience do people in the program typically have? I have people asking, this is actually a really popular question, I've had people asking what percentage of CEO, COO, CFO, senior managers, and then additionally, what percentage are mid-level compared to senior executives or small business leaders?
Yeah, so I would say that the program is mostly full of senior managers who see themselves moving up in the next couple of years. So that's probably the largest group, like maybe a third to a half of the class is at that level, where they have pretty significant responsibility for people and budgets and programs underneath them, but they are also seen by their organizations, or they see themselves as ascending in the next couple of years to an even higher level. We always have a couple of people who are already CFOs or CEOs, or they're kind of at that C-suite level, and we also have some people who might be more middle managers, but they are drawn to leadership. They're in organizations where they want to have an impact as a leader, and so they take this program so that they can be prepared to lead at the level that they're at. And I think that actually creates some nice diversity in the room. I think the one thing that is important is that we're going to take a topic like leading change from the perspective of leading organizational change, so larger scale kind of change versus something that might be a little bit more just team related. So I think it appeals to people who are in those kinds of roles where they're impacting the whole organization or see themselves as fairly soon moving into those kinds of roles.
All right, great. And we actually had a question just come in for Dr. Porter, which sounds like it's a class format question. So what does a day in your class typically look like? Is it more lecture or more discussion?
We try to, great question. I try to, and the other instructors too, not do a lot of talking at people. It's typically a mix. I might present a concept or an approach, and then we would do a lot of discussion. We might even practice it a little bit. We try to do a lot of varying techniques. We might see a short clip of that technique or that idea in action. And quite a few of the courses also have an assessment where when we present, say, something on leadership styles or how you handle conflict or something like that, you could take an assessment to have a quick look at how you were doing in that area and now what areas you need to improve in. Then we would discuss and maybe even practice that. So I think there's always an emphasis on theory to practice. A little bit of theory, a little bit of lecture, but then a lot more on discussion and practice.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
All right, we have a question here too for our alumni, which is what kind of contact are you continuing to have with your colleagues from the program?
So Sharon does a lot of reaching out to have lunches and those types of things too, but we have been sharing our successes in emails. That's what we've been doing. I have reached out to one or two others to just, to see how they're doing. But there's the opportunity is always there to really engage with the other leaders. But I would say monthly there's an email going out about that somebody shares some successes or successes on the email forum.
I do know that there, as Kathy said, there's usually monthly something coming out. We also had an opportunity. It was kind of unique where we had a chance to tour the Folsom prison system. I didn't get to go to it because I was on travel that time, but our whole group got to because one of the executives was an executive there. So as a continuous learning opportunity and also just getting to see some of these people, I think we had a pretty tight-knit group, but it also, that dynamic is going to depend on who's in the class, how much you interact with people in the class, and what your individual goals are. So I think it's a really good question, and I would say it's going to Sharon and her team do a really good job of kind of getting the ice broken and getting everybody integrated. But from there on, and usually all the leaders have more assertive, I would say, personalities. So you'll get to know people, and people aren't going to be as shy as typical. But you'll find connections with some people, and a lot of those will last quite a while.
Yeah. We do like to have fun. I will say that.
No, it's prohibited, Sharon.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a question here about whether the participants include any small business leaders. And we do have, I would say, 2 or 3 people from small business every year. It's not the majority of the class, but people who are running small businesses have their own set of unique issues. But when it comes to people management and people leadership, I think there are small business leaders who find this program is a good fit to focus in on those issues.
Yeah, I
There were
might add
3 or
to that.
4, I believe, in our class, Sharon.
Yeah.
4?
3 or 4, I
Yeah.
want to say that were small business leaders, or
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's about right.
And it
And
was,
I think that's a strength of the program, too. We have some small business. We have public agency people. We have corporations. That's a real chance to learn from different sectors.
it was,
I agree with that, Paul. Seeing
Yeah.
seeing how the government type employees versus the publicly traded companies versus a small business, that's a valuable perspective.
It was really good to have that diversity, because we could learn, being in the government, I could really learn the struggles and things that were happening in the in industry and side of everything. It was incredible information and valuable to us.
I just got a question that I think speaks to this relationship building aspect of the program, and the question is, what is the typical size of the program cohort? So we cap it at 28 people per session, and that's a small enough group that you do get to know over 8 sessions and 8 dinners together. You get to know a lot of people in depth. No one can hide in a group of 28. Everyone gets to know everybody else and support each other as leaders.
And the dinners are very, very, very good.
Yep, they are. They're one of my favorite parts, getting to break bread with everybody.
We just had another question come in for Sharon, and that is, what if I already know I have a conflict and will have to miss one day in the program? Can I still join?
Okay. That's a really good question. I generally recommend to people go into this program doing everything that you can to clear your calendar to make yourself available, because you owe it to yourself to fully engage in the program and to give yourself this time to be reflective about your leadership. Most of us are so busy doing and executing all the time that you don't want to shortchange yourself. That being said, we understand that life happens, and so it may be that someone during the course of the program has the flu and misses a session, and someone has an absolute must-attend conference and they miss one session. So I don't think that having to miss one session would be a reason to rule it out. I would still, if this is the right year for you and you really want to focus in on your leadership, I would say that you can still get a great deal out of the program, but do everything you can to clear your calendar and to just give yourself that gift of being able to invest in yourself.
All right, it looks like we have one more question that came in, which is that I want to take this program because I'm interested in learning in these topics, but I'm worried that I'm not at a high enough level in my organization to get the most out of the course material. What would you advise?
Such a good question. So I go back to all of these topics are really going to be approached from a leadership perspective of people who are leading other people in an organization, leading a function in an organization. And so I think even if you're at a mid-manager level, and if you see yourself ascending in the next couple of years and you want to prepare yourself for, you may be at a level in the organization where changes just happen to you. You don't get to participate in deciding what kinds of change is going to happen, but you have to execute them. If you want to prepare yourself and understand what are the leaders of an organization thinking about when they're enacting change, or what should they be thinking about, and what are the reasons that change efforts fail so that when I get there, I can be a better leader, I think you could still get a great deal out of the program.
Sharon, I was going to say, I can even think of some people in my organization that are not leaders yet that I would be grooming for leadership that I think have that capability. Mm-hmm. And even though they don't have any management responsibility now, I would want them to take the class just so they have that experience, so they can have something to draw from when they get there. And again, one of the important principles I really thought of is you lead from where you are. Influence is based on how well you can manage the attitudes and egos that are around you, and be able to articulate a common path. So I really think that it can be for anybody, and you can get some really good gain from it, no matter where you are.
And to add to that, I thought about that at the same thing. That was one of my biggest questions in this, and I feel like when you're there, this gives you an incredible amount of people skills that you find out where you can improve and where you really can learn how to handle situations, and that happens at every level of an employee's life. So even if it's just a coworker, how to deal with a difficult coworker or something like that, these are the way that they teach or present these sessions is you can gain information no matter what, even dealing with your children or your spouse or whatever. These are some really great skills that you'll learn.
I totally want my wife to take the class.
That's terrific, and I'm going to let the alumni have the last word because I think that those are great points to end on. And so I'll just remind everyone, oh sorry, I didn't update that. I should say the 2017 Executive Leadership Program. I really do encourage you to get your application in the next couple of business days because we do have pretty strong enrollment. And if we have a lot of applications, that will signal to us that we can open up a second section. But we won't be able to do that unless we have a lot of applications. So let us know that this is a program that is the right one for you at the right time, and we look forward to supporting you in your development. I really want to thank Paul and Brandon and Kathy and Stephanie and Alex, who's been running our technology, for helping us put this together today. And I wish you all a good 2017 and much great leadership ahead of you. Thanks so much.
Hope to see you all in the program. Bye-bye.
Thank you.